What's good with the YouTube with Convicts Perspective? It's your boy, Big Flacco, sliding through, smashing through, as always, with my co-host, Big Senor Rojo. Little bit of energy, man. What's cracking, man? So we got an interesting topic and title. As you guys can see, we're going to be discussing a little bit about the Arizona Mexican Mafia. And first and foremost, let's give a shout out to Cricket and Chopper over there at Chronicles, man. They have a very detailed channel that talks about the Arizona Mexican Mafia. If you want some more information as far as coming from an exact member, check out that channel, man. But what we're going to do is we're going to give our perspective, man, because there's a lot of similarities, man, in the way the Arizona Mexican Mafia has transformed. And we're going to look at the similarities and differences. And so we're just going to break down an article that we found. I'm going to go into a little bit of things I've learned about them through my research. And then we're going to go from there, giving a convict's perspective.
No doubt, man. And this is actually from the Arizona Corrections. It's corrections.arizona.gov. And the title of this is The History of the Arizona New Mexican Mafia. This is their perspective. Around 1974, a group of Hispanic inmates at Arizona State Prison, Florence, formed a prison gang known as the Mexican Mafia. Arizona Department of Corrections officials at that time obtained information that this group patterned themselves after the California Mexican Mafia, which had been in existence for several years already. Several Hispanics who came into the Arizona prison system brought the concept and philosophy of the California Mexican Mafia. In 1978, the Mexican Mafia split into two organizations. One kept the original philosophy and structure and currently refer to themselves as the original Mexican Mafia, Califas faction, MA. The other, which came into prominence in about 1984 and is the organization addressed in this workbook. These guys refer to themselves as the New Mexican Mafia. Many assaults and murders of members of both groups have occurred as the results of each organization claiming the title of Mexican Mafia within the Arizona prison system. Members of the New Mexican Mafia consider themselves autonomous, I don't even know how to say that word, with relation to the original Mexican Mafia and the parent organization in California.
Autonomous.
Yeah, that's a strange one. I always see it and I know what it means, but I've never said it out loud. They have created their own rules and regulations and have established an organizational structure. Each member is allowed to vote on issues regarding membership and leadership. The leader, who is approved by all the members, has the power to solely decide important issues. For example, revoke present membership or reject new members, and may approve new members without an organization vote. As of the printing of this workbook, a few influential members are consulted on major issues by the leader. This may discontinue with the change of leadership. Membership is comprised of inmates who have many years within the prison system. Some were members of the original Mexican Mafia, as well as first-time offenders. Several newly recruited members have been identified as belonging to Hispanic street gangs throughout Arizona. Most members have been documented by law enforcement as having the New Mexican Mafia tattoo. All members are encouraged to wear it. The following reproduction of the rules and regulations of the Arizona New Mexican Mafia is verbatim as they exist. They were confiscated by the prison special security team from a documented New Mexican Mafia member at Arizona State Prison Complex, Florence Central Unit on September 30th of 1988. Two other identical documents have been found in the possession of documented members since the first confiscation. A list of Spanish to English translations have been included. The Arizona Mexican Mafia is an organization which must consist of certain reglas in order to maintain a certain amount of discipline within its structure. In order to keep a wall-defined structure, I think they meant wall-defined structure of what we believe in these reglas must be met with considerable thought and respect. And since this, La M, is going to be what we make it, then we must meet its causes with determination and full force in order to accomplish what is best for our survival, the survival of the Mexican Mafia, and for what we believe in as a whole, for now and our future. It must be realized that we are our future and it's for our future that we should be most concerned about. For what we do now will reflect upon the future. The future must always be at mind. We'll strive to meet our goals, and in doing this, it is remembered to honor and exist within the scope of the regulations. When it's become known amongst the carnales that a specific person has the potential of becoming parte, and he meets the standards in which we believe in, then this person is capable of becoming a carnal. And should there be a vote and this person is accepted, or any person who has potential, then whichever carnal who introduced this person into the MA carries no burdens for his future actions, if they may be vile. For we accept it as a whole, so we must deal with it in this manner. It is not necessarily wise to approach a prospect, ask if he'd like to become a carnal. If he has it in his heart to be parte, then time will lead him our way. But there can be no exception, the exception being that all carnales on the yarda be consulted, and if we agree that person is or can be useful to our cause, then that person may be approached. This must always remain the same and should not change for any reason, and should exist throughout time without change. This is an issue which must be looked at very closely, because without carnalismo, we cannot accomplish our goals as a whole, and setbacks will be sure to arise. No carnal shall conspire or plot against any of the carnales for any reason behind their back, nor shall any carnal sell out his carnales for greed or lust. For none of these reasons can possess the value of your carnal or carnales. And for no reason should a carnal present treachery on his behalf toward any carnal for any reason, since we are all carnals in the same faith, trust, and believing in one another is a must, even though some may vary. Faith in your carnales is very important. It is an ingredient which cannot be overlooked. It's believing in him and what he stands for. In order to progress, we must believe in ourselves and what we do. We've chosen our pattern of life. It's only wise that we do it the best way we can. Each and every carnal has the right to speak his mind and share what he feels is right or beneficial to our organization, and in no way should this right be jeopardized. It's only smart to check out every issue from all points of view. This right gives us that option. Once a person becomes a carnal, he is parte de la Mafia Mexicana por vida. That is his lifetime guarantee. You cannot become a carnal and then choose not to associate or be part of the Mexican Mafia. This will not be permitted. There are no revolving doors to walk in or out of whenever we please. Upon a vote, a certain carnal is to become our financial treasurer, and upon his request may have on one or two more carnales to assist him with his jale. Those who carry on this jale are to be trusted in every way, unless shown and proven otherwise. This pertains to each pinta individually. These funds are to be used solely for the benefit and profit of the Mexican Mafia. It is a special honor to be able to possess the rose. It reveals loyalty and faith in what you believe in, true carnalismo. And receiving the rose can only come by way of muerte, and this showing your loyalty to what you believe in por vida. And for no other reason should anyone acquire the rose. Once a carnal is released from within the system, contact with his carnales inside the pinta should always be kept. Also, contacting and associating with your carnales out on libre is a mandatory issue also. The reason being to organize and build a strong structure of what we believe in, the Mexican Mafia, our organization. When contacting or meeting with other carnales, a low profile should be exercised for obvious reasons. The task force is aware of the Mexican Mafia and some of us who are involved. So a low profile and a good front should be kept in order to prevent unnecessary harassment and possible incarceration by the law. Even though to prevent this may not be easy because of the task force full knowledge of the MA and its members. So it has to be recognized that we are an organization, and that's how we must conduct ourselves as organized figures. There's different type of task force, but there's only one which deals in only gangs and organizations, and this is the one we must be aware of and not underestimate their potential. and also financial foundations can be based on scope of regula's for, but pertaining to the free world. The final decision or the deciding vote is to be determined by X or XS, XX with X in the highest. This was concluded by an election which took place with the majority of the Carnales present and stands valid for all purposes and to be recognized and respected by Carnales. When speaking of or about anything to do con la M, it is mandatory that only Carnales be present. No outsider is to hear what is to be said. This is strictly forbidden. These are the reglas which we must be considered and respected in every way. In no way should they be abused or disregarded. All decisions for penalties of violation for these reglas are in the hands of the Carnales. Those there who witness or have full knowledge of the violation committed by that individual. For deciding vote or final decision, refer to SOTRIX.
Interesting.
So much more simplistic than ours. That's
Well, yeah, a lot more simple, a lot more,
yeah.
a little bit more details than the California MAs, though, man. But a little bit of back history, like I said, man. Check out Cricket from Chronicles. He's a former Arizona Mexican Mafia member. Goes into a lot of details. He talks about the ranking system and all that, man. So for the viewers out there that may not know, we'll talk a little bit about this, man. The original Arizona Mexican Mafia was at first called, believe it or not, La Familia. Right? What ended up happening was an individual ended up coming from California that was a California-based Mexican Mafia member. I think his name was Arvin, aka I think Manny from Temple Street. So with that, he brought the influence of the California Mexican Mafia member and basically tried to align them with the beliefs of the original MA format in California. Okay. So from there, around 77, 78 is when I think the conflict started to arise between the factions over there. So you had individuals that were, aligned with people who a lot of them were from California, a lot of them were from Arizona. It was just a split. All that, it was over some conflicts, over some issue, over some dope, and Cricket goes into it pretty much in good details, man. But one other thing though, the whole term New Mexican Mafia, they never adapted that word. That was a word that the administration gave them. It's kind of like how they used to give us the Northern Structure term. Same thing with them. They gave them the New Mexican Mafia term. And what it basically was, it seemed like it was just a split of a power struggle. You know what I mean? The original ones, and man, to this day, there's only one remaining from, I guess you would call the old Arizona Mexican Mafia, and that'd be Petey Boy. I think Petey Boy was last name, I think Moreno. His brothers, a couple of his brothers were Carnales as well, MA members as well. So a lot of them came over. They've been in the system in the 70s because they came from California. And now, apparently, after all these issues that have occurred, man, from my understanding, man, the Arizona Mexican Mafia, it may have its own, it's like its own entity with its own like chain of command structure. They have their ranking system. They have all this stuff, right? And they, at one time, did have conflict with the California Mexican Mafia. But from my understanding now, there is a truce. You know what I mean? There's only one original member left in the Arizona Department of Corrections. And they used to call themselves, they used to call the ones that were aligned to the old ways, víboras, which in English would mean snake. So that's how they would identify them. So they only have one remaining member walking the lines. It's some dude named Petey Boy. I just mentioned his name, man. So I think it's kind of interesting because, each MA, faction, I'm saying, whether it's the California, the Feds, the Arizona, they kind of are able to operate independently, if you notice, while still kind of being aligned and working alliance in some form or fashion, because Arizona MA and California MA, they walk the yards together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if that's is that the case with Texas? Do you know the Texas Mexican Mafia?
Okay,
or are they still on the outside looking in?
Okay, okay. Well, last I heard, okay, I don't know how valid this is. A lot of the Texas MA are walking yards with NF in North Daniels. Okay, there's allegedly some type of truce agreement between them to where there's no issues, no conflict. They went to war pretty bad in the Feds. That was a gruesome war, man. I mean, that really got serious, man. I mean, they were whacking each other, man. Them Texas MA members ain't no joke. I think allegedly there's supposed to be a truce, but the thing is they're not walking on each other's lines currently. From my understanding, there may be a few. I don't know. It's the same thing with the NF and Norteños. None of them are walking any yards with any Sureños, with any MA, right, or with any Arizona MA. They will not walk the same yards with them. So the feds is a little bit different. Like instead of just putting them on yards to get off with each other, after they have about like 10 or 15 riots and they start to catch on what's going on, they separate everybody. You know?
Yeah, you know what I find odd is that they chose to run with the same name. You know, I'm not trying to be like disrespectful by saying that, but you know, when you start something in a different state like Arizona, Texas, or whatever, it just seems strange to me that they would pick that. You know, I don't know. Like,
Well, they had, like I said, they were originally called La Familia, believe it or not. Then they had influence from a member from Temple Street that came to the system and took a liking to what they were doing and started to school them and wanted them to take on the title Mexican Mafia. And so within that, they had their own little power struggle. They had their own little conflict to where maybe you ended up having two factions. You know what I mean? Like I said, there was never no old or new. There was what you would consider older and what you consider newer, right? It was just a whole different direction of which way, you know, the Mexican Mafia wanted to go. Like they actually have like their little chain of command. They actually have a ranking system. They actually have a whole, you know what I mean? If you listen, I mean, their regulations are a lot more simple. They facilitate the process, but they do have some type of rules and structure. You know what I mean? Even a banking system, it seemed like that they'll appoint someone as a treasurer. You know what I mean? Whereas most California Mexican Mafia members, they kind of, you know, operate more independently, a little bit different. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure I'm gonna tap into more of Cricket's videos, man, because he really goes into it and explains it, man. But I think that they have somewhat kind of it's like it's kind of weird because you see some of their actions are almost similar to the old Mexican Mafia way, right? And some of the things they're trying to adapt are similar to what the NF does. It's like they're crossed in between, you know?
yeah, I see what you're saying, man. I trip out, man, because knowing, you know, our Constitution, the bonds of format, all that stuff like I do, I've came across a lot of other groups, you know, guidelines and expectations and stuff. And bro, God, there's so many under the Northern umbrella, bro, under the NF, man. It's crazy. You know, when you compare it to, you know, what's expected of you in other groups compared to what's expected of you in that group, it's like night and day, bro.
Well, they got different tattoos too. And see, they have their own foot soldiers too. They're not called camaradas in Arizona. They're called skinas. So it's a whole different lingo. You know what I mean? Even the hoods out here. I mean, there's Sureño varios that are out there in Arizona, right? But there's more varios that are just varios. They're just hoods that are from Arizona.
Traditionally, Arizona local neighborhood things.
And so when you get to a prison, if you become affiliated, it's basically a foot soldier, right? That does their bidding. That's aligned, basically working hand in hand with the Mexican Mafia. Their next level tier would be a esquina. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of interesting. Kind of like how the you know, I mean, you know, you have the MA, you have Sureños, but you also have Sureños that maybe have a little bit more influence, which we call a camarada. I mean, one that, you know, a lot of times they'll take positions like a secretary for an MA member, or they'll hold a little bit of different positions in there. Similar thing with them, man. So you see similarities there, man. But the only difference really is the voting processes. If you see, like they have a different type of voting, they have a different type of tier of authority. It seems like, you know.
Yeah, I wonder if any of the goals ever have been to consolidate all those groups that, you know, have the Mexican Mafia in their name as one, bro. Can you imagine that amount of fucking, you know, that amount of soldiers and influence? I mean, Texas, Arizona, California, as well as federal, which is basically, you know, it's we'll call it California. You know what I mean? But man, that'd be one big group, dude, controlling an extreme amount of, you know, square miles, dude, from Houston to LA and wherever.
Well, they're basically allies, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like they're walking the yards in the feds. I mean, you see the different articles that Mundo's done, man. He's done videos of California MA and Arizona MA, and he has pictures of them kicking it on the yard posted up. You know what I'm saying? So they're definitely working in an alliance. It's just that each one is structured a little bit differently. I wonder how that plays when you hit the feds. Do you fall under, you know what I mean? Because it's like You have the state MA. Each one is independent, operating independently. Then you have the federal MA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've also heard that some of these factions, right? I don't know, man. I could be wrong, man, but I think they have some type of a similar hierarchy structure as the NF and the AB. I don't know what the titles are, but I think that they do have a hierarchy process to where they vote in Arizona's Mexican Mafia, which would be a little bit different with the state MA.
Hey, so do you think we can safely say that the Arizona Mexican Mafia would be the dominant prison organization in Arizona?
I would probably, like to believe that.
Because I know personally of no others. That doesn't mean they're not there. It's just I'm not educated as far as that goes. But that's the only one that I ever hear about. So, being, like back in the days in Texas, it was the Texas Syndicate. When I came to California, it was the NF and the MA. And if that's the only groups you hear about, you figure those are going to be the more dominant groups out of that area. I just don't know. Maybe if they have any competition in Arizona, or I have no idea.
I don't believe that they do. Like, they even have a truce with like I said, the old MA members. And like I said, but there's only one left that's walking the yard in Arizona, Petey Boy. That's it. You know what I mean? But they were at odds with each other for a minute, man. So maybe that was their number one opposition. Like I said, I don't know the details. I'm just looking at the similarities and differences and just trying to get a grasp understanding for the listeners out there, man. Like I said, man, the dude has a good channel, man. Like I chapped in a little bit, listened to some of his stuff before we broke it down. And, I see a difference between the California and Arizona.
Yeah, I enjoy listening to Cricket's videos, bro. He's sharp and he's got a real laid back style, and he's humble and stuff. I've checked out a lot of his stuff, man. I'd really like to talk to him one day, bro. He's cool, bro. I like that dude.
Yeah, most definitely, man. So I mean, it's like I said though, in any state, gangs are going to organize. You know what I'm saying? Arizona, New Mexico has something called the syndicate over there. You know what I mean?
Mexico does?
Yeah, they have something called the syndicate. And they're pretty treacherous, man. You know what I mean? Texas has a whole bunch of different factions.
I've been hearing more and more about New Mexico. A lot of people are like, man, you should touch on New Mexico. And it's like, when I have enough information to provide at least 20 something minutes of video, I will. But until then, man, I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels, man. But I want to focus on New Mexico as well, man, because any state along that border from Texas to California, they're gonna have these kind of groups, man. It's just the way it goes. It's just that lifestyle. Even
doing this video, man, like I didn't know much. I thought that they were the same, which in a sense they are, but then they're separate entity. You know what I mean? It's just like the California state MA is different than the federal MA. They have different rules, regulations, and they adapt. The same thing in Arizona. So for whatever reasons, I've learned that they've been able to adapt to, I guess the conflict, the changes of what created their system now is, I guess, over a conflict that happened in the 70s, man. You know what I'm saying? Between, one person from one faction, you had basically people almost like the feds and state now. You had some people that were siding with one direction and one side siding with one direction. That's the thing I trip off about these about the Mexican Mafia politics, man, in general, whether it's Arizona or California, is they don't have a constitution to back them up in support of whatever they're trying to push. It's about campaigning and politicking. It's about getting someone to side with you. And if you get into politicking against another member, when you lose, the answer usually is death. Right. That's a trippy. I mean, it's different than the end of Constitution where you have laws, you apply the laws, the constant articles and all that to preserve your rights. As an MA member, what I'm learning is you don't have those rights. It's about politicking. It's about power plays. It's about gaining support.
Popularity.
It's about campaigning.
It's
And he said, hey, yeah, popularity contest, man. You know what I mean? Some people's word carries more weight in the system.
Hey, even though the Constitution, as we know it, has very strict guidelines and really detailed expectations, and we both know it's still interpreted in certain ways at certain times by certain people to achieve certain things.
All the time, bro. You know that.
So is it really that much different? You know what I mean? It still ends up being kind of a popularity contest at the end of the day too, because if you're an MVP level performer on the streets or whatnot, breaking some of them rules might just be brushed off. Whereas you're maybe not liked so much, you're kind of an asshole, you messed up a little bit in the past, that same stuff will have you butchered.
Yeah, most
So, I mean,
definitely.
at the end of the day, it all boils down to the same thing, man. You know, really, unless I'm missing something, because
Power and
the
control.
more popular you are, more respected you are, the better you're gonna do.
Sometimes I'm starting to notice it's even less about the money. It's more about the power and control.
Yeah.
The money is sometimes secondary because they're behind the walls. It's about that they want to be in control half the time. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, they're lower tier soldiers, right, that are working under them are making more money than the actual member, but he still maintains that power. There's only so much that he needs a month, anyways.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially when it's trickling up and you're got life and all this and that. I mean, granted, don't get it twisted. You can assist your family, you know what I mean? You can redirect funds and all this and that, and that's great. But a lot of people focus on, you know, that aura of complete I'm the man kind of thing.
Well, see,
You know?
that's the difference too. I've noticed between the NF and MA, right? Is the NF, right? They have the organizational bank. You know what I mean? You may have about 20 different regiments, 30 different regiments that are kicking in major money every month.
Right.
They're racking it in. Now each MA member is going to have his set territory out there in the streets. I mean, I know we're talking about California. I don't know how Arizona operates. That's something I'll tune in on Cricket's channel. But in California, it's like you have this one member. He has this lower tier. All his foot soldiers are basically making money and kicking up to him. But the lower foot soldiers are making more money than him, which is the difference. Whereas with the NF, it's vice versa. The organization's getting all the money, and a lot of times these foot soldiers are barely able to make ends meet, and they have to still kick in. Those are facts.
See, in the NF, you just got to know how to wiggle, right? You know what I mean? I mean, there's money to be made for everybody, but you got to wiggle.
Hey,
You know?
don't report those fines.
I mean, with everybody in your business, the way everybody is, and always trying to
Yeah,
slander one another, it's real hard to get away with that. You know, real hard.
yeah.
You can be successful, but at what cost? Life in prison.
Oh, I've seen it, bro. Like, and that's the whole thing, man. That's the first thing that's going to cross you up is when people say you're not allocating the funds to the right spot.
Yeah,
Misallocation of funds.
I'd rather be not be rich for, you know, say 5 years of good hard functioning on the streets than spend 55 years to life in some correctional facility. I don't care about the power, the cash, but do I want to, you know what I mean? It's like at the end of
Want
the
that
day,
freedom.
bro, your freedom, bro, you're gonna lose that freedom, no matter which one of these groups. Because man, anytime you got a group that started in prison that has some bodies on it, they're watching you, bro. And everybody knows from my previous speech, man, they watch my little 20-year-old ass for 24 hours a day for months. You know what I mean? It's like it has no future, bro. No matter where you're at, it's gonna crumble down. You know.
Yeah,
And that's there's today's lesson, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna crumble at some point in time. No matter how slick you are, no matter how liked you are, disliked you are, it don't matter. It's always gonna come to the same end result: death, dishonorably discharged, or a blue cool amount of prison time. Straight up.
yeah, most definitely.
So that's today's lesson, man. Little something new, man. Maybe somebody out there from Arizona might have more input on this, man. Shout out to Cricket, like Flacco said, man. Good dude, good channel. Check him out. It's your boy Rojo, Big Flacco, Arizona Mexican Mafia. We'll holler at y'all later.